So before you start on your notes, make sure you have already completed the right pair share. If you're not sure, here's a sentence frame to get you started. So make sure you go ahead and finish this before you start the notes. All right, so for today's notes, we are going to complete them right underneath the first right pair share. So we are going to be going over graphing linear equations in slope-intercept form. So what is slope-intercept form? Slope-intercept form is any equation that looks like the following: y equals 5x minus 8, where you have two numbers, two variables, and your equal sign. So we've talked about this before, where this 5 represents the rate of change. The negative 8 represents the starting value in a table. In general form, it's y equals mx plus b, where the m, rate of change, is also called the slope, and the b value is called the y-intercept. So why change these names? The reason why is we are going to now start graphing using this form without having to do a t-table anymore. So it's going to be a lot easier and a lot less work, but we have just this different name for it. So it's the rate of change, which is what our table changes by, will be called the slope from now on, or the letter m. We know this as rise over run. And the start of the line is the y-intercept, which is on the y-axis. So just a few things. Go ahead and copy this down. Pause the video if you have to. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and identify the slope and the y-intercept before we actually get to graphing. So remember, our slope tells us whether our line is increasing or decreasing. In this case, our slope is that number -3, which is next to the variable x, which tells me my line is decreasing because it's a negative number. Therefore, my y-intercept is a 7. Let's go ahead and try another one. In this case, my slope is a number next to the variable x, but I don't see a number, so therefore it's positive 1, which means my line is increasing. My slope is 1, and my y-intercept is -10. Go ahead and try the next two on your own. I'll give you guys about a few seconds before I go ahead and start animating the answers in. Okay, so if you chose increasing for your next line, you are correct. If you chose 3/4 as the slope and 6, you got them all right for the y-intercept. All right, let's look at the next one. Is it increasing or decreasing? If you chose increasing, you are correct. That 15 is positive for the slope and the y-intercept. So I do not see the y-intercept. So what is the y-intercept when you don't see a number there? So in this case, it's really a 0 because I can add 0 to the end of this equation and I would not change it. Therefore, that plus 0 or 0 is your y-intercept. Let's go ahead and move on. So let's go ahead and start looking at some graphing examples. Again, this is still on your notes. We are skipping that second right pair share and coming back to it later, so flip to the next page. So let's go ahead and start with number 1. So number 1, we are going to go ahead and quickly identify the basic information like we did on the previous section. This line is decreasing because of that -1 slope. Again, we don't see the 1, but it's technically there. And my y-intercept is 3. So when it comes to graphing, instead of doing the t-table, we can actually just use what we know, which is y-intercept is on the y-axis and the rise over the run. So remember, our b value is our y-intercept, so 3. That really means that there is a point 0, 3 on the y-axis. So we're going to put that point on the y-axis. So let's go ahead and do that. This is going to disappear. So on the y-axis, I'm going to put a point at 3. This is my starting value. We always start on the y-axis. Then I'm going to use my slope, which is -1. I'm going to write it as a fraction. I'm going to divide it by 1. That is going to be my rise over my run. So I'm just going to use this to generate more points from the y-intercept, which is my starting value. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So now that I know that my slope is -1 over 1, which means it's going to be decreasing. So I'm going to go down 1 over 1. So in this case, I'm going to go down 1 over 1, and that's going to generate a point at the following spot. So this point went 1 down, 1 to the right. And I'm going to keep repeating this process, 1 down, 1 to the right, rise over run, -1 over 1, -1 over 1. And I'm going to keep going until I can go no further. Then I'm going to just backtrack and go backwards. I'm going to go back to my y-intercept, and I'm going to go up and back. And I'm going to fill in the graph all the way across, put all the points I can put, and just connect the line. And that's how we graph in slope-intercept form without doing the t-table. We just use our two numbers, the -1 and the 3, start at the y-intercept, and use the slope with rise over run to get more points. So let's go ahead and move on to number 2. All right, so here we have number 2. Let's identify our information. This one's also decreasing. My slope is -2/3, and my y-intercept is -4. So again, we always start at the y-intercept, which is at -4, and it goes on the y-axis. From here, I'm going to go ahead and use my slope, which is -2/3, which tells me to rise -2 and run 3. So I'm going to go down 2 and over 3. You don't actually have to write this line out. I'm just putting it for you to look at. So I'm going to go ahead and put my point right here. Then I'm going to go backwards and get more points. So I'm going to go rise 2 and back 3. So I can follow this pattern over and over again and generate more points. So once you run out of room going in one direction, you go in the other direction. So rise 2 and run 3. All it is counting. If you can count points and boxes, you're good. So again, you don't have to do the little step ladder looking thing. Just as long as you have those 4 points in red, I'm just doing it so you guys can look at it. You would just go ahead and graph your line. So once you're done, just go ahead and connect the points and get your line going. So it looks something like this. It's not going to be the neatest. If you want to write those lines out, you can always go back and erase as well. That's fine. But at the end of the day, I should see 4 points on your graph and that green line. Let's go ahead and move on to example number 3. So let's identify our information. Looks like this one got cut off a little bit by the graph. So let's go ahead and say this one is increasing. Again, the words increasing, decreasing got cut off by the graph. My slope is half, and my y-intercept is 0. Remember, there's no number at the end. It's a 0. So we're going to start on the y-axis at 0, which is located at the origin. So again, I'm going to use rise over run. So I'm going to rise 1 and run 2. Rise 1, run 2. So I'm going to go up 1 and over 2. That's going to get me right here. I'm going to rise 1 over 2. So up 1 over 2. Where I left off, I'm going to continue rise 1 over 2. Then I'm going to do the same thing going backwards, down and back, down and back, down and back. So I'm just following that same pattern over again of rise 1 over 2, rise 1 over 2, rise 1 over 2. It's like a little ladder, and then the same thing going backwards. All right, then I'm just going to go ahead and connect my line when I'm done, and it's graphed. So this is a lot faster than doing the t-table. So let's go ahead and move on to example number 4. All right, example number 4, identify increasing or decreasing. This one's decreasing because the slope is -2. Y-intercept is -5. We're starting at -5 on the y-axis. So that puts me right there at the bottom. Then we're going to use our slope, which is currently not a fraction, so let's divide it by 1 to make it a fraction. Let's make it a little neater. So we're going to divide by 1, which means rise -2 over 1. So notice that we get off the graph if we were to go ahead and do that. That's okay. You can always go off the graph if it's close enough. So we're going to go down 2, 1, 2 over 1. So you're just going to kind of estimate it. Now, if you don't want to do that, that's fine. But we still need to be able to connect this line, so we're going to go backwards. So we're going to go up 2, back 1, up 2, back 1, up 2, back 1, up 2, back 1, and so on until we run out of space. Then we can go ahead and connect our line. And I lost my points, so let's zoom again. Down 2 over 1. Let's go ahead and quickly put these back on there. And I'll connect the line again. This time I'll connect it correctly. So here we go. Let's see if this works. All right, there's our line. let's go ahead and move on to the last two. I want you guys to pause the video and try them yourself, and then check with me once you've done 5 and 6. So go ahead and try these on your own. Pause the video. All right, now that you've done numbers 5 and 6, let's go ahead and check your work. So your slope is -1/5. Your y-intercept is 6. And again, here the word decreasing got cut off, so I'm just going to write it in and circle it. All right, so my y-intercept is at 6, so I'm going to go ahead and put a point at the number 6. The slope tells me rise -1, run 5, so I'm going to go down 1 over 5. And I can't put any more points because I'm out of space, so I'm just going to go ahead and connect this line here. And let's go ahead and check your next answer. All right, number 6, you should have circled increasing, or what you can see of it. Your y-intercept is, your slope is 3/2, and your y-intercept is 3, which means your first point, your starting point, is on the y-axis at 3. Then you're going to use your slope, your rise over your run. You're going to go rise 3 over 2. You should be able to fit 1 point going upwards, and then we're going to go backwards, down 3 over 2, down 3 over 2, down 3 over 2. You should be able to fit about 3 points going backwards. Then just have your line connected, and we are done with the examples. So let's go ahead and switch over to the next piece. So you guys are done with writing stuff out. I just wanted to go over one general thing. So just as a recap, you always want to start with your y-intercept. And that always goes on the y-axis. Common mistake, people will put it right here, and then they'll have a line that is off. So be very careful with that. And 2, you use your slope and just follow rise over run. If your fraction is not a, if your slope is not a fraction, make sure just to divide it by 1. There could be the case where your slope is 0, which would then be a horizontal line. So just one quick thing I do want to go over is if you have an equation like the following, like y equals -2 over 3, let's try different numbers, like -7 over 3x plus 1 or something like that. Actually, let's make it -2. So if you were to go at this line, it's possible to do it, but you might run into a little trouble. So let's say we start at -2. Common thing that confuses students is the slope being -7 over 3 and counting 1 down, 2 down, 3 down, 4 down, and it's a whole bunch more going down, and there's no room on the graph. You don't want to go way too off and have it come off. So here, in this case, you would just go the opposite direction. So instead of going down 7 and running 3 forward, you will go up 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 here, and then back 3. So you'd go completely backwards. And this would allow you to sketch the line. And you'd still get the same line. And notice the slope is negative, the line is decreasing. So always check your line is going in the correct direction. If it's negative slope, make sure the line is decreasing. Well, that's pretty much it. Go ahead and work on your second right pair share. Once you're done with that, get it checked off, as well as work on your practice after that. Here is a quick sentence frame to help you get going. You may pause it if you want to see it, so you don't have to use the sentence frame, but it does kind of get you going if you're not sure. And go ahead and work on the 12 practice problems. When you're done with that, there is another piece added to that, which is going to be online doing desmos.com. So go ahead and make sure you read directions online.